Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning if you happen to be in Georgia, which is where my good friend and colleague from Savannah, Georgia is. And if you're talking in travel and tourism, there is only one man that would take the crown of Mr. Savannah, and that's Joe Marinelli. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Graham. It's nice to see you again. It's been too long.
And you. Joe, it's been a hard time, but I think, there's definitely a feeling that we're getting through that. I'd like to talk about, how Savannah and Tybee Island, which is just down the road, all the exciting things that are going to be happening in 2021 with you. What do you think is going to attract people to Savannah and to Tybee Island next year, or even towards the end of this year, beginning of next? What are the attractions that people will be looking for?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were talking about right before we went on the air here, and that is, what are people looking for? And frankly, I don't think it's terribly different than pre-pandemic. They're looking for an authentic experience. They're looking for a welcoming experience. And sure, we're all much more conscious of how much space we have. And of course, Savannah is very much of a walking destination. You don't need a car while you're here. So I think, what we're talking about, at least in our organization, as it relates to our marketing plan, marketing and advertising planning for next year, it's really, getting back to the messaging and the target audience that we've always had, and that's the sophisticated visitor. That visitor that's going to stay a little longer, spend a little more while they're here, and hopefully come back again.
Good. I'm not sure that everybody, and certainly our audience, being mainly travel trade, would be fully aware of the European connection in Savannah, and particularly the British connection. You go back in time in Savannah. Maybe you can just give me I'm familiar with it, but maybe you can give me a little bit background to that and how British visitors may be engaged with that history.
Well, the core peak part of our history really dates back to a connection with County Wexford, Ireland, and as people were fleeing Ireland back in the famine days and coming to the New World, if you will, we all remember reading in our textbooks about places like New York City and Boston having signs up. Irish need not apply, and that was really a message for a lot of people from that part of the world coming over here. So we saw a great influx of immigrants coming in from Ireland and the UK in the 1840s and 1850s and settled here. As a result, we have a very, very large Irish population here, which then leads to Savannah enjoying a reputation of having the largest St. Patrick's Day celebration in the South, and arguably, along with New York and Chicago and Boston, probably one of the largest celebrations in the U.S. So, there's a great presence of British families and Irish families here in the Savannah area. And it makes for a nice connection when we talk with folks that you relate to.
Sure. In terms of international visitation, Joe, is there anything specific, any large events that may have been postponed from this year? I mean, I know around about this time of the year, you normally have your food festival. What else goes on throughout the year that might be attractive to international visitors?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We kick off the year with a lot of smaller festivals, but typically in March, at the end of March, maybe beginning part of April, we have the Savannah Music Festival, which in the past has been 17 days of music from around the world. Now in 2021, we'll move that Savannah Music Festival from late March into May, but we bring in some of the top artists and musicians and performers of genres from all around the world, and that brings a lot of Brits into Savannah. These days, although I don't talk about Charleston that much, with the BA connection from the UK into Charleston, which is only 2 hours up the road, it's an easy travel. So we have the Savannah Music Festival next year in May. And then typically in the fall, we have the Savannah Film Festival, which is a function of the Savannah College of Art and Design. That typically happens later in October. And then, as you mentioned, the Savannah Food and Wine Festival in early November. So those are really our marquee events of the year, and also the three that attract the largest number of international visitors.
In terms of domestic business, I would imagine you've been fairly busy this year with domestic tourism from people just out of state as well as in state. In terms of business tourism, how have you fared? And I'm assuming badly, but are you anticipating? Are you budgeting for that to kick in again in 2021?
Yeah, it's been a challenge this year. Through October at least. Our numbers our revenue numbers are at about 49% of what our expectations were for this year. Heading into next year, we certainly have bumped that up in anticipation of the vaccine, the change in leadership at the White House, and we expect things to start to climb back. For us, through the year, our weekend occupancies have been very, very strong. As you know, Savannah is a terrific 3 or 4 day getaway weekend destination, and that's continued to be the case. Our friends down at the beach at Tybee Island have had a record year, banner year with visitors from around the country, and frankly, a lot of internationals coming in and enjoying a kind of a relaxed beach experience. So overall this year, we have done better than what we expected we would do back in March and April. But as we look to 2021, specifically targeting Q2 and beyond, we expect that climb back to continue.
Do you think that this COVID year, will have, once you've looked at it and once you've assessed it, perversely will offer you some other opportunities? It means that you've looked at other things that you might be able to offer differently, or you might be emphasizing slightly different things. And I'm thinking here more of SMEs in your economy and in your tourism economy that may benefit from smaller, more authentic. I know Savannah is very authentic anyway, and it's, as you said, it's for the sophisticated visitor in many respects. Has that allowed you to look at those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not only allowed us to, but forced us to really take 2 or 3 giant steps back and evaluate how we do what we do, marketing this destination, building packages with our hotel partners and attractions and so forth. So, I'm not sure, we're quite clear on where we're going with all of that yet in 2021. I think we still need some of this to all shake out in Q1, but certainly it's been an opportunity for us to really take a step back and look at how we do our advertising, how we do our social media marketing and so forth, and we've learned a lot of lessons through that.
Good. Just one final question, Joe, because I know you're a busy man. I am assuming that internationally, that the travel trade will still be, if not the most important, a very important cog in your sales setup.
Yeah, no question, Graham. I mean, we're anxious to reconnect with our friends on your side of the pond and turn up the marketing message and advertising message to the travel trade over there. When I came to Savannah 13 years ago, this destination had not really reached out and done any marketing internationally, and so we got started doing that. And I went to my board and I asked them to help me make a commitment to putting money into international travel and sales and marketing versus dipping your toe in and out of the market and seeing if it works. So, after 13 years of really building some terrific relationships with folks like you and others on that side, this year we've taken a back seat to all of that. So in 2021, we look forward to reestablishing those connections and building for the future. It's just a very, very important part of our visitation to Savannah.
Good. From my perspective, it's always seemed an ideal destination to sell from a trade perspective, because you can use Savannah as a base and then use that to visit various places, not only just Tybee, but all the barrier islands right down onto the border with Florida. I mean, it's just a fantastic part of the USA that most people are not that familiar with.
Yeah, we know that Disney World and Mickey Mouse are always going to be very, very popular. And our recommendation is when you're planning your extended trip to see the mouse, either before or afterwards, head north instead of heading south, and explore some of what you've talked about: beautiful Sea Island, Amelia Island, Savannah, Charleston, Asheville, all of the cities here along this part of the coast, because it's a different experience, and really a very genuine and authentic experience that you don't find in a lot of other places.
Good. Well, for golfers amongst us, we've just had a big advert with the RSM Classic from St. Simon's Island this past week. So that renewed my enthusiasm to get back there as soon as possible. And I hope the rest of us and the rest of the traveling public have the same enthusiasm as I do. Joe, thank you very, very much for your time. And I do look forward to seeing you and having a beer or having breakfast and a beer maybe with you very, very soon in Savannah.
Wonderful, Graham. Thanks as always. And I hope you have a happy new year, and we'll see you in 21.
Cheers.
Thank you.